Control has a branding problem. In modern brand conversation, control often gets framed as rigidity. It's associated with bureaucracy, hierarchy, and outdated corporate thinking. Strategy decks soften it with language like empowerment, creativity, or care, avoiding the word altogether. But control is not inherently oppressive. At its best, control is responsibility. Psychologists studying motivation repeatedly point to the human need for stability, competence, and structure. People do not simply seek freedom. They seek environments where systems function, outcomes are reliable, and someone is capable of guiding the chaos. When that need goes unmet, uncertainty creeps in, trust erodes, decision-making becomes exhausting. This is why brands that successfully exert control become anchors in people's lives. They reduce chaos, they create systems that work, they provide experiences people can rely on. Within the archetypal framework, this territory or quadrant is known as exert control. It contains 3 archetypes: the sovereign, oftentimes called the ruler, the creator, and the caregiver. Each archetype expresses control differently, but they share a common premise. The world improves when someone takes responsibility for shaping it. Understanding how each archetype exercises that responsibility is where strategy emerges. Control rarely appears spontaneously. It emerges in response to instability. In chaotic environments, where rapid change, uncertainty, and fragmentation thrive, people seek leadership and structure. Environments driven by constant novelty and disruption, people seek reliability. In systems that emphasize individual ambition or autonomy, people eventually crave support and protection. The archetypes in the exert control quadrant restore balance to those conditions. They provide order where there is confusion, creation where there is stagnation, care where there's vulnerability. But just as belonging can take different emotional forms, control also operates through distinct psychological mechanisms. The sovereign, or the ruler, leads through authority. The creator leads through innovation. The caregiver leads through protection. And each fulfills a different human need. So let's start with the sovereign, which is control through order. The sovereign archetype creates control through structure and leadership. This archetype assumes that systems work best when someone establishes standards and maintains them consistently. The sovereign is not interested in experimentation for its own sake. Its role is to build environments where excellence becomes predictable. The psychological function behind the sovereign aligns with humanity's need for stability and coordination. Historically, communities depended on leaders who could organize resources, enforce standards, and maintain order. Without those structures, chaos followed. Modern brands embody this role when they become symbols of reliability and authority. Luxury hospitality brands, for example, thrive on this archetype. The experience is meticulously controlled from the architecture to the service choreography because predictability signals competence. Financial institutions and legacy brands also frequently operate here. Their value lies not in novelty, but in their ability to maintain consistent standards across time and scale. When the sovereign functions well, people feel confident within its system. They sense that someone capable is in charge. But the archetype carries a risk. Authority can drift into arrogance. Systems can become rigid. A sovereign that prioritizes control over service eventually alienates the people it was meant to guide. Strong sovereign brands maintain authority while remembering that leadership exists to serve the system's participants, not dominate them. Let's look at the second archetype in this quadrant, the creator, which provides control through innovation. This one everyone loves. Where the sovereign organizes what exists, the creator brings new things into existence. The creator archetype exercises control through imagination and craftsmanship. It assumes the world can always be improved through invention. Rather than enforcing structure, the creator reshapes reality itself. Psychologically, the creator maps closely to the human drive for competence and expression. People derive meaning from building, designing, and improving the world around them. So brands operating from this archetype channel that drive into tangible outputs. Apple's influence emerged not simply from technology, but from its relentless pursuit of design innovation, controlling the experience from beginning to end. Lego transformed simple plastic bricks into a global platform for creative construction. Chef-driven restaurants often express the creator archetype as well. These brands treat cuisine not merely as food, but as a medium for artistic exploration. The creator archetype thrives on originality, but originality must remain connected to purpose. Creator brands sometimes become enamored with their own ideas, producing work that impresses insiders but confuses the public. The strongest creator brands maintain a delicate balance. They innovate relentlessly while ensuring their creations remain meaningful to the people experiencing them. Creation, after all, only matters when someone values what has been created. And that's an important distinction. Let's look at the third and final archetype in this category, in this quadrant, and that's the caregiver, which is control through protection. The caregiver represents the third mechanism of control. Instead of authority or innovation, the caregiver exerts control through protection and service. This archetype operates on a simple premise. People thrive when they feel safe and supported. The psychological roots of the caregiver lie in humanity's evolutionary dependence on nurturing figures. Communities survive through cooperation and protection. Those who provided care were not passive participants, they were guardians of the group's well-being. Brands expressing the caregiver archetype mirror this function. Healthcare organizations often embody it naturally, positioning themselves as protectors of health and well-being. There's companies like Johnson & Johnson who have long emphasized trust and safety in their messaging. In the restaurant world, many hospitality-focused brands adopt this posture as well. Their identity revolves around warmth, comfort, and genuine service. When the caregiver archetype functions well, patrons feel looked after, they feel taken care of. The brand signals that someone is paying attention to their needs and ensuring their well-being. But the archetype has its own vulnerabilities, as all archetypes do. Caregivers can overextend themselves, trying to serve everyone without maintaining a clear identity. When boundaries disappear, the brand loses focus. The most effective caregiver brands recognize that true care requires clarity and consistency. Protection is meaningful only when it is delivered with intention. So those are the three archetypes. Let's talk about choosing the right one and the right mechanism. Authority, innovation, and protection are not interchangeable. The sovereign says, you can trust the system. The creator says, something better is possible. And the caregiver says, you're safe here. Each archetype resolves a different form of instability. The strategic challenge for any brand is identifying which imbalance it is uniquely capable of correcting. Are patrons overwhelmed by chaos and craving reliable leadership? Are they bored by sameness and seeking creative breakthroughs? Or are they navigating vulnerability and searching for safety? The answers reveal which archetype the brand can authentically embody. Because archetypes are not stylistic choices, as we said over and over and over again. They're not personality traits. They are behavioral commitment. A brand that claims authority but behaves inconsistently, it destroys trust. A brand that claims creativity but follows trends appears hollow. And a brand that claims care but operates transactionally feels insincere. Control only works when behavior reinforces the promise. So how do you shift from provider to archetype? The exert control quadrant is often misunderstood because leadership, innovation, and protection appear less emotionally expressive than belonging or exploration, the other two quadrants we've already discussed. Yet these archetypes often create some of the most enduring brands in the world. When people trust a system, admire its creativity, or rely on its care, the brand becomes more than a provider of products or services. It becomes infrastructure. The sovereign builds systems people depend on. The creator builds ideas people adopt. And the caregiver builds environments people trust. When a brand consistently fulfills one of those roles, it stops operating as a simple market participant. It becomes something far more powerful. It becomes a force shaping the world around it. Once again, thanks for listening and thanks for absorbing this. I hope you got a lot of value out of understanding more about the exert control quadrant and the archetypes within it. Please do share this. Add your comments. I would love to hear what you think. And if you really love these overviews of the quadrants and the archetypes, please do consider picking up Mass Behaving, which is my book on using archetypes for branding effectively, as well as the accompanying card deck, where you can actually use the cards to workshop what archetypes are possible, which ones make sense, and how that fits into your brand. As always,